57 agonizing days, an entire community lived in fear. Parents couldn't sleep. Teachers wondered if they would ever see their students again. Children who should have been learning mathematics, reading English, and playing football during break time suddenly found themselves in the hands of armed kidnappers. Every sunrise brought fresh hope. Every sunset ended in disappointment. For nearly 2 months, Nigerians asked the same question: will these children ever return home alive? Today, that question has been finally answered. The abducted teachers and pupils from Oyo State have regained their freedom after spending 57 terrifying days in captivity, following a coordinated rescue effort involving multiple Nigerian security agencies. Authorities say the operation involved personnel from the Office of the National Security Advisor, the State Security Service, the Nigerian Army, and other security agencies. Reports also indicate that several of the terrorists were killed during the operation. But here is where the story becomes even more interesting. Who exactly are these kidnappers? Why did they target innocent school children? What happened during those 57 days? Were ransom negotiations involved? Why have security experts described this rescue as one of the most significant operations in recent months? And perhaps the biggest question: what happens next to the remaining kidnappers? Will they be prosecuted under Nigerian law? Or is the government planning an even tougher response against the criminal networks responsible? Stay with me, because today's documentary uncovers everything surrounding this extraordinary rescue. If this is your first time here and you enjoy in-depth Nigerian news, security analysis, politics, current affairs, and stories that matter, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who wants credible analysis instead of rumors. Imagine waking up one morning, getting your children ready for school, ironing the school uniform, packing lunch, giving them pocket money, kissing them goodbye, and expecting them back before sunset. Instead, you receive the worst phone call imaginable. Your child has been kidnapped. Not one child, not two, dozens. According to official reports, 39 pupils and 7 teachers were abducted when terrorists attacked 3 schools in Orire local government area of Oyo State. The coordinated attack affected Baptist Nursery and Primary School, Yawota, Community High School, Ahoro Esinele, and LA Primary School, Ahoro Esinele. Think about that for a second. This wasn't a random robbery. This wasn't an isolated attack. It was planned, organized, calculated. The attackers knew exactly what they wanted: school children. This is one question every Nigerians have been asking. Why would criminals choose children instead of wealthy politicians or businessmen? Security experts have explained over the years that children are viewed by kidnappers as high-pressure bargaining tools. Families panic, communities panic, governments come under enormous public pressure, media attention grows, and every passing day increases demands for action. The emotional impact is enormous. That is why attacks on schools create fear far beyond the immediate victims. One school attack can discourage thousands of parents from sending their children to class. That is exactly why education has increasingly become part of Nigeria's broader national security conversation. The kidnapping quickly became one of Nigeria's biggest news stories. Every television station covered it. Radio discussions centered on it. Social media exploded. Hashtags trended. Parents across Nigeria imagined themselves in the same situation. Many asked, if it happened in Oyo today, could it happen in my community tomorrow? That fear spread quickly, not because Nigerians are naturally fearful, but because school should be one of the safest places in any country. Children are supposed to worry about homework, not surviving armed attacks. Teachers should worry about lesson plans, not escaping gunfire. Now imagine life inside captivity. Although authorities have not yet released detailed accounts from the rescued victims, 57 days in the custody of armed terrorists would have been physically and emotionally exhausting. Many of the victims are children, young minds, separated from their parents, uncertain about the future. Every day probably felt like a month. Every night probably felt endless. Even adults struggle with traumatic captivity. Children process trauma differently. Some become silent, some develop anxiety, others carry emotional scares for years. That is why psychologists often stress that rescue is only the beginning. Recovery comes afterwards. Perhaps nobody suffered more than the parents. Imagine eating dinner while wondering, has my child eaten today? Is my child sick? Is my child crying? Do they think I abandoned them? Can they even sleep? Every phone call becomes terrifying. Every rumor raises hope, then destroys it. Every breaking news notifications make your heart race. Many parents reportedly held onto faith throughout the ordeal, refusing to give up hope that their children would return alive. As public pressure mounted, Nigeria's security agencies faced enormous expectations. Every day without a breakthrough increased criticism. People wanted answers. Some asked, why can't the military simply storm the kidnappers? Others asked, why is it taking so long? But hostage rescue operations are among the most difficult military missions anywhere in the world. One wrong move, one mistaken shot, one frightened kidnapper could put innocent lives at risk. That is why such operations often involve weeks of intelligence gathering, surveillance, planning, coordination, and patience. Then finally, the breakthrough came. According to reports, the victims regained their freedom on Friday after a security operation involving the Office of the National Security Advisor, the State Security Service, the Nigerian Army, and other security agencies. Sources also indicated that several terrorists were killed during the rescue, although authorities said more operational details would be released later. That announcement changed everything, from fear to celebration, from uncertainty to relief. You can almost picture the scenes: parents crying, children embracing family members, neighbors celebrating, communities thanking God, phones ringing non-stop, messages flooding WhatsApp, people saying they are back. Sometimes the happiest news doesn't need many words, just one sentence: they are safe. The presidency welcomed the successful rescue and praised the security agencies involved in the operation, describing it as the result of sustained efforts by the country's security architecture. The release has been presented as an important outcome of coordinated operations rather than a single isolated action. For the federal government, the rescue is significant because it demonstrates the value of intelligence-led operations involving multiple agencies working together. One of the biggest revelations surrounding this case came from Nigerian defense authorities. According to reports referenced by Premium Times, the defense headquarters identified the abductors as dislodged members of Boko Haram. Defense officials also said the terrorists allegedly abducted the pupils and teachers in an attempt to pressure the government into releasing some detained terror commanders. If confirmed through federal investigations, that changes the conversation from ordinary kidnapping to a much broader national security challenge involving insurgent-linked groups. Now let's address one of the biggest questions making the rounds online. Many people asked, should these kidnappers be given jungle justice? This is an emotional question. When innocent children are kidnapped, anger is understandable. However, as of the latest verified reports available at the time of writing, there has not been an official announcement by the House of Representatives ordering or endorsing jungle justice for the suspects. Nigeria's legal system requires arrested suspects to be investigated and prosecuted through the courts. At the same time, lawmakers and security officials have consistently called for tougher action against terrorists, kidnappers, and armed criminal groups, including stronger security operations and ensuring those responsible face the full weight of the law where evidence supports prosecution. That distinction is important. Calls for stronger punishment are not the same as official endorsement of extrajudicial killings. This story is bigger than one community. After 57 painful days of uncertainty, fear, prayers, and relentless efforts by security agencies, the abducted Oyo Pupils and teachers finally regained their freedom. For many Nigerians, the announcement felt almost unbelievable. After weeks of conflicting rumors, unverified social media reports, and endless speculation, families finally received the news they had been waiting for. Their children were homecoming. Their teachers were homecoming. And a nightmare that had gripped an entire community was finally coming to an end. But while celebrations erupted across Oyo State and beyond, many questions remained unanswered. How exactly were they rescued? What happened behind the scenes, and what lessons can Nigeria learn from the incident? One thing that became clear from official statements is that this rescue was not the work of a single agency. Many Nigerians often imagine rescue operations as scenes from action movies: helicopters, explosions, gun battles, commandos jumping through windows. Real-life operations are often very different. In many cases, intelligence is the most powerful weapon. Knowing where hostages are being held, knowing how many kidnappers are involved, knowing their movement patterns, knowing their supply routes, knowing who communicates with them, knowing when they are most vulnerable. These details can determine whether a rescue succeeds or fails. Security experts have long maintained that intelligence-led operations reduce risks to hostages and increase the chances of bringing victims home alive. Now imagine the moment the victims finally saw freedom. Imagine seeing the sky without fear. Imagine hearing that you are going home. Imagine realizing the nightmare is finally over. For the children especially, that moment may remain unforgettable for the rest of their lives. Many of them left home expecting a normal school day. Instead, they experienced one of the most traumatic events any child could endure. And while the physical rescue has been completed, another journey is only beginning: the journey of healing. One of the most overlooked aspects of kidnapping incidents is what happens after the victims are rescued. The public celebrates, the news cycle moves on, but the survivors continue living with the experience. Mental health professionals often emphasize that rescued victims may require emotional support, counseling, rehabilitation, and long-term care. Some children may experience anxiety, some may struggle to return to school, others may develop fears associated with classrooms, travel, or unfamiliar environments. Teachers may also carry psychological scares from witnessing traumatic events. This is why many experts argue that recovery programs should become a standard part of post-rescue interventions. Following the rescue, attention quickly shifted toward accountability. Many Nigerians want to know what happens to those responsible. Should they be prosecuted? Should penalties be tougher? Should anti-kidnapping laws be strengthened? Over the years, members of the National Assembly and various state assemblies have repeatedly called for stronger measures against kidnapping, terrorism, banditry, and violent crimes. Lawmakers have frequently demanded improved security funding, better intelligence capabilities, enhanced border security, and tougher enforcement of existing laws. However, it is important to distinguish between public anger and official government policy. At the time of this documentary, verified reports have focused on ensuring that perpetrators are identified, arrested where possible, and prosecuted under the law. There has not been an official declaration endorsing jungle justice as a government policy. Still, the anger is understandable. When innocent school children become victims of violent criminals, emotions naturally run high. Many citizens feel that kidnappers have caused enough suffering. Many believe punishments should be severe enough to deter future crimes. Others argue that swift prosecution is necessary to restore public confidence. These discussions are likely to continue as investigations progress. This rescue has also reignited a broader conversation about insecurity in Nigeria. Questions are being asked across the country. How secure are schools? What additional measures should be implemented? Should more security personnel be deployed near vulnerable communities? Should rural schools receive special protection? How can intelligence gathering be improved? These questions do not affect Oyo State alone. They affect every state, every parent, every teacher, and every child, because education can only thrive in an environment where students feel safe. One of the greatest dangers of attack on schools is that they create fear. Parents become reluctant to send children to school. Students become anxious. Communities lose confidence, and educational progress suffers. That is why protecting schools is not merely a security issue. It is also an economic issue, a social issue, a developmental issue, and a national priority. Countries that invest in education invest in their future. Protecting educational institutions therefore becomes essential to national growth. Several lessons emerge from this story. First, communities must remain vigilant. Second, intelligence sharing is critical. Third, coordination among security agencies matters. Fourth, victims require support long after rescue operations end. Fifth, schools in vulnerable areas may need additional protection measures. And finally, security challenges require long-term solutions rather than temporary fix. One of the most remarkable aspects of this story is the power of hope. For 57 days, families waited. For 57 days, communities prayed. For 57 days, uncertainty dominated headlines. Yet, despite everything, many refused to give up. Today, that hope has been rewarded. The children came home. The teachers came home. Families were reunited. And a community that had endured weeks of fear finally had a reason to celebrate. The next chapter will likely involve investigations, intelligence analysis, prosecution efforts, and continued security operations. Authorities will seek to understand every aspect of the kidnapping, how it was planned, who participated, who financed it, who supported it, and how similar incidents can be prevented in the future. The answers to these questions may help shape future security policies. This story is not merely about a kidnapping. It is about resilience. It is about community. It is about the determination of families who refused to stop believing. It is about security personnel who continued working toward a breakthrough. And most importantly, it is about children whose lives were disrupted by who now have an opportunity to rebuild, recover, and continue their education. As Nigerians celebrate this rescue, there is also an opportunity for reflection. The country must continue working toward a future where schools remain places of learning, not targets of fear. A future where parents can send their children to school with confidence. A future where communities feel protected. A future where criminals understand innocent lives are not bargaining chips. Today is a day of relief, a day of gratitude, a day of celebration, but it should also be a day of renewed commitment to building a safer Nigeria for anyone. What do you think about this rescue operation? Do you believe Nigeria needs tougher anti-kidnapping laws? What additional steps should be taken to protect schools across the country? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you found this documentary informative, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with your friends and family. Your support helps us continue bringing you detailed reports, breaking news, political analysis, security updates, and the stories that matter most to Nigerians at home and in the diaspora. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.